They say everyone has a story, and we're very fortunate to hear his story. Dr. Ramon Resa is a father and pediatrician. He's a graduate of the University of California, Irvine School of Medicine. When he received his license to practice medicine, Dr. Resa returned to the Central Valley, where he grew up and went to work as a pediatrician. He continues to inspire as a keynote speaker, as a blogger and author. His story is captured in a published memoir, Out of the Fields, and a documentary, Ramon Rising, which is in production. Please help me welcome our commencement speaker, Dr. Resa.
I am really honored to be part of this. My son graduated from a residency program in pediatrics from Ramon University 2 years ago. It was such an honor for me to attend, especially because with my background of not having my mother or a father at any of my graduations. My mother had 5 kids before she was 21, and she gave us away. But she gave us away to a family, she said, we're our grandparents, who turned out not to be true. We were just a family of 15 who moved from New Mexico to Goshen, California to pick the crops. And my family always told me that I was never going to amount to anything other than a farm worker. And I lived in this family that was very dysfunctional. There was alcoholism, drug use, sexual abuse. We all lived in a small little home where we all slept on the floor. And we were watching the adults abusing the kids. And I was watching my sisters getting beat up by their husbands or their boyfriends and having to intervene in those fights when I'm 8 years old. And because of what was going on at home, I had a really severe problem with a stutter. And I was just this dirty little Mexican boy that went to school whenever I could. And it was interesting, but one day I was in school and my second grade teacher, this Anglo woman, she looked at me and she said, you should go to college. And why she would say that to a dirty little Mexican boy? And I was dirty, I stunk, I smelled, I didn't change clothes. We didn't have hot running water, so we never bathed. But she said that, and I thought, college, whatever that is, I want to do that. And in my family, if you went to 8th grade, you were considered very educated. Then I went on to my 3rd grade teacher, and she put me in the back of the class because she said that's where Mexican boys belonged. Then I went into my 4th grade class, and the teacher there, I thought she was a witch because she had the wily hair and the bitty little eyes and the mole coming out of hair coming out of the mole of her face. And if you spoke Spanish in the playground, she would whack you over the head because that was not allowed. Even now, my Spanish is broken because of the abuse that we had for speaking Spanish, and they took that away from me, essentially. But in 4th grade, I was going to go to my back of the class, and for some reason, she put me in the front. And anytime that I would stutter, and kids would make fun of me, she would whack them over the head. And I liked that because I thought she's protected me. But she also did something else for me that she gave me a grade report card. I was so excited. I ran home to show my grandparents, my guardians, that I was worthy of more than being a farm worker. My grandmother took one look at that report card, threw it on the table, and said, go get me some cigarettes. She could care less whether I had an education or not. But I knew that my teachers, some of them cared for me. So I made it my job to be the best student I could at Goshen Elementary School, which wasn't very hard because there were only 25 of us. And I became the #1 student. But then my principal called me to the office and he said, because of your speech impediment and the fact that you don't speak English very well, we're going to have somebody else do the valedictorian speech. I thought that's great because I did not want to get in front of people. But then when the counselor came in to give us advice on college, on high school classes, he took one look at me and says, I'm putting you in woodshop where you belong. I said, no, I really want to go to college. I said, you're not smart enough. Here I am, the best student in the school, and he's telling me I'm not smart enough. This man was 6'5", 250 pounds, and he was Anglo. My grandfather always said to us, you do not speak back to a white man. He controls your job. He controls your destiny. But I stood up and said, I really want to go to college. He said, fine, I will put you in college prep courses, but I can guarantee you're going to fail. So I went into my first class at Redwood High School in Visalia, California, and I realized he was right. I did not belong there. I did not look like those kids. I had no idea what I was doing. And the other thing, that because of what was going on in my home, I also felt like I was going to commit suicide. It was only a question of where and when. So every day I thought about a method. But I was lucky. I had in high school three friends to this day are still my friends. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think I would be here today. And also this one young man, one day he showed up from UC Santa Cruz. And he said, I know I can show you how to go to college. And one weekend, when I wasn't working in the fields, I went to UC Santa Cruz. And for the first time in my life, I saw the ocean. I saw the beach. I saw hope. I was so excited. I said, how do I get in here? He said, well, you have to go home and you have to fill out financial aid papers and have your parents sign it. I showed the financial aid papers to my grandparents and they said, you bastard, you're not going anywhere. We took you in when nobody else wanted you. And now you're going to get a job and work in the factories and pay us back. From the age of 3, I worked my butt up and I never took a dime from them. And they're telling me I have to pay them back. So my senior year of high school, I moved out of my home. I'm not sure what would have happened to me, but my biology teacher found out my situation. And he got me a job. I keep telling people that I've only had 2 jobs in my life, a farm worker and a doctor. But I was a janitor my senior year of high school. And whether the kids went off to the prom and went up and did everything else that they had to do, I stayed and cleaned the gymnasiums, I cleaned the classrooms, and I waited, hoping that I would hear from UC Santa Cruz. And in the spring of that year, I got a letter from UC Santa Cruz. I had been admitted, the first one in my family ever to go to college. But I still thought it was a pipe dream, because I went to UC Santa Cruz, and there was this young man behind the table, and he asked for my name. I said, Ramon Resa. He says, here you are, 203 Galileo. I have reached my dream. I was a college student. During high school, I never dated because of the shame I felt. But once the first day, I see this beautiful girl. I never spoke to girls, but for some reason, a couple of days later, I saw her out in the courtyard. But I knew I was going to marry her. Only problem, she had a boyfriend. 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. His dad was a doctor. His mother was a doctor. And here I am, a Chicano militant young man with a long hair and bandana, not what her parents dreamed of. But 3 months after I met her, she came to my room. And I asked her what she was doing there. She said, I want to tell you something. I said, what's that? She said, I want to tell you I broke up with Kirk. I said, why did you do that? She said, because I'm in love with you. And that's the first time in my life I had ever heard those words. And we've been married. We will be married for 44 years tomorrow. I was going to take her home to meet my family because that's what you do. And unfortunately, my stepfather, whatever you want to call him, on Christmas Eve, he had an accident in the farms. He went to the emergency room. They told him there's nothing wrong with you. Go back to work. He went back to work. He died of a brain hemorrhage on Christmas Eve. My Aunt Helen had breast cancer. She went to her doctor. They treated her like dirt. She said she was never going to go back. She'd rather die. So she died of breast cancer. So here I am in college. I have no idea what I want to do with my life. So I decided I'm going to go to medical school. So I go up to my college advisor and I'll tell him I want to go pre-med. And he says, you're not smart enough. So I got rid of him. I had some friends who were taking pre-med classes, what classes I had to take. And in high school, I did not take anything other than the basics to get into college. So they told me I had to take chemistry and physics and all these classes. So I signed up for chemistry, and the first thing I did is I flunked it. I thought, well, there goes that dream. But by that time, I realized I really wanted to do this. So with the help of tutors, I was able to pass my college courses in organic chemistry, physics, calculus, everything that I needed for medical school. But I applied for medical school, and this is during the time of affirmative action when only 1% of minorities were admitted to medical school. I was granted an interview at UC Irvine Medical School. My grades were not great, my MCAT were not great, but they asked me one simple question: why do you want to be a doctor? I said, I want to be a doctor so I can go back to my home area and be a role model for the kids that remind me of the kid I used to be. And I think that's the only thing that got me into medical school. The first week I went to orientation. I had no idea what I was doing there. One of the other students came up to us and she said, We overheard the professors talking. They said, "You people don't belong here, and they got to make sure that you quit or you fail." And every single day that I was there, I felt like I was a failure. I felt like quitting. But one day I received a letter from an aunt of mine, Lucinda, and she said, "Ramon, we knew you were smart, and we knew you were amount to something. But we just thought that you would just get a job at like J.C. Penney's or something and wear a shirt and tie. But for you to get a job as a doctor, that's impossible." So I knew that I could not quit. I could not fail. So again, with the help of tutors, I was able to pass my classes and graduate from UC Irvine Medical School. And I applied for a residency program near my home. And I went off to UC San Francisco, Fresno to start my internship program. And if I thought medical school was hard, and all of you know this, first year of internship, we had preemies that died on us. We had a 2-year-old little kid that died from a near drowning that we could not save. I could not put an IV in a 7-month-old. Baby died. So I started having really severe headaches. And about a month after that, I get a call from home. My sister Annette was married to an abusive alcoholic man, just like every single woman in my family. She had enough. She decided to leave him. He followed her into my brother Danny's house. Danny tried to stop him at the door. He pulled out a gun, shot Danny in the head, and killed him. Tracked Annette down into the bedroom, shot her, and killed her in front of her 2 kids, and took off to Mexico, never to be seen again. I was given 2 days off for my internship program to go to the funerals. And while I was there, I realized that in my selfishness to make something of myself, I had abandoned my own family. I wasn't there for them. So my internship year, I quit. I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. But then my daughter Marina was born, and I held her up in my arms. And I realized this was no longer about me, it was about her. I went and I begged for my job back. They gave me my job back. And I was able to finish the residency program because every single time that I felt like a quitter or a failure, all I had to do was hold my daughter in my arms. I moved to Portugal, where I've been in practice now for 34 years in solo practice. And I have devoted my life to serving the kids of my area. And I wrote this book in order to help other people realize that no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what your background, that if you're persistent, that you too can be a success in this world. And I hope that you realize that what you all have accomplished is actually nothing yet compared to what you are going to accomplish in the future. My life did not start when I finished my residency or started my pediatric practice. It started when I started speaking and helping other people enjoy their lives and making the most of their world. So I hope that you understand that what you have accomplished, that you can make such a difference in all those kids that you encounter in the future. So please remember, it is no longer about you. It's what you can do for others. Thank you very much.